Have you ever wondered how one of the world's most famous sports car brands got its start? What if I told you it all began with tractors and an argument between two stubborn men? Get ready for an amazing story about how a simple farmer became the creator of some of the coolest cars ever made. Our story starts way back in 1916 in a small town called Renazzo in Italy. That's where Ferruccio Lamborghini was born. His parents weren't rich or famous. They were farmers who grew grapes to make wine. Little Ferruccio grew up helping on the farm, but he wasn't interested in growing grapes. Instead, he loved to tinker with the farm's tractors and other machines. Ferruccio's parents wanted him to take over the family farm one day. But Ferruccio had other ideas. He was more excited about fixing engines than picking grapes. So he decided to study mechanics instead of farming. His dad wasn't too happy about this, but Ferruccio followed his heart. After finishing school, Ferruccio didn't waste any time. He started working right away, learning how to be a blacksmith. He learned all about working with metal and welding. But Ferruccio had big dreams. He wanted to work at a big factory in a city called Bologna. At first, the factory didn't want to hire him, but Ferruccio was stubborn. He kept asking and asking until they finally gave him a job. This was just the beginning of Ferruccio's adventure in the world of machines and engines. When Ferruccio turned 18, he went back to his hometown and opened his very own workshop with his friend Marino. They fixed all sorts of vehicles and machines. Ferruccio was doing what he loved, and he was good at it too. But then, something big happened that changed everything. In 1939, World War II started. Ferruccio, like many other young men, had to join the army. He became a mechanic for the Italian Air Force. They sent him to an island called Rhodes, which is part of Greece. For 3 years, Ferruccio worked on an airplane and other vehicles for the Italian army. But in 1943, Italy surrendered and the German army took over. Ferruccio was clever though. He asked the Germans if he could open his workshop on the island. They said yes, and for 2 more years, Ferruccio kept working on vehicles. But in 1945, the war ended. The Allied forces, that's the good guys who won the war, came to Rhodes. They made Ferruccio a prisoner of war. But guess what? When they found out how good he was at fixing things, they put him to work, fixing their vehicles. After a year, the Allied forces let Ferruccio go home to Italy. But life wasn't easy when he got back. His wife died while giving birth to their son, Tonino. Ferruccio was very sad, but he kept himself busy working in his old workshop. He fixed cars, trucks, and tractors that had been damaged during the war. One day, Ferruccio's dad came to him with a problem. He needed a new tractor for the farm. This gave Ferruccio an idea. Italy had been badly hurt by the war, and farmers needed help to grow more food. But the tractors they had were old and didn't work well. Ferruccio had learned a lot about different kinds of engines during the war. He decided to use old military trucks and tanks to make new tractors. He used parts from British Morris trucks and changed the engines so they could run on cheap fuel. This made his tractors much less expensive than other tractors. Ferruccio started a new company called Lamborghini Tractors. At first, he didn't have enough money to make many tractors, so his dad helped out by using their farm as a way to get a loan from the bank. It was a big risk, but it paid off in a big way. Soon, Lamborghini Tractors became one of the biggest tractor companies in all of Italy. Ferruccio was making lots of money, and he started to enjoy the good life. He loved good food, fancy wine, and fast cars. He bought lots of expensive cars like Jaguars, Mercedes, and Ferraris. Ferruccio liked his Ferrari cars, but he noticed a problem. The clutch, that's a part in the car that helps change gears, kept breaking. One day, he took his Ferrari to get fixed and found out something interesting. The clutch in his expensive Ferrari was the same as the clutch in one of his tractors. This made Ferruccio mad. He had paid a lot of money for his Ferrari, but it was using the same parts as his much cheaper tractors. He decided to talk to Enzo Ferrari, the man who made Ferrari cars. Ferruccio told Enzo that his cars had problems. They were too noisy, too rough on the road, and the clutch kept breaking. But Enzo didn't like hearing this. He told Ferruccio, "You're just a tractor driver, a farmer. You shouldn't complain about my cars. They're the best in the world." This made Ferruccio very angry. He said to Enzo, "Yes, I'm a farmer, but I'll show you how a sports car should be made." And that's exactly what he decided to do. Many people thought Ferruccio was crazy, They said he would lose all his money trying to make cars. But Ferruccio didn't listen to them. He was determined to prove he could make better cars than Ferrari. Ferruccio started a new company called Automobili Lamborghini. He hired some really smart people who used to work for Ferrari. Then he bought a big piece of land and built a factory to make his cars. In just 9 months, Ferruccio and his team made their first car. It was called the Lamborghini 350 GT. This car was amazing. It had a powerful engine, good brakes, and a smooth ride. When they showed it at a big car show in Turin, Italy, everyone loved it. Ferruccio had done it. He proved to Enzo Ferrari and everyone else that he wasn't just a farmer. He could make great cars too. The Lamborghini 350 GT was classy, fast, and easy to drive. It was everything Ferruccio said he would make. Over the next few years, both Ferruccio's tractor business and his car business did well. Ferruccio was different from other bosses. He let his engineers try new ideas and be creative. This led to some cool new cars. One of these cars was the Miura P400. This car was special because its engine was in the middle of the car instead of the front. This was a new idea that made the car faster and handle better. At first, Ferruccio didn't know his team was working on this car. He didn't like race cars because he once crashed one into a restaurant. But when Ferruccio saw the Miura, he changed his mind. It turned out to be one of the best decisions he ever made. The Miura became known as the world's first supercar. It was so good that it changed how all fast cars were made after that. Lamborghini kept making more amazing cars. They made the Espada, the Islero, the Jarama, the Urraco, and the Countach. These cars were better than other sports cars because Lamborghini made all the parts themselves. The Countach became so famous that people say it's the most written about car in history. But then, some bad things happened that Ferruccio couldn't control. He had a deal to sell 5,000 tractors to a country called Bolivia. But there was a big change in Bolivia's government, and they canceled the deal. This was bad for Ferruccio's tractor company. He had to sell it to someone else. Then, things got even worse. There was a big problem with oil in the world. Gas became very expensive, and people didn't want to buy big, fast cars that used a lot of gas. This was bad for Ferruccio's car company. Ferruccio tried his best to keep his businesses going. He found ways to sell the tractors he had already made, but in the end, he decided it was time to stop. He sold the rest of his car company and retired. After Ferruccio left, the Lamborghini company had a lot of problems. Different people bought it and tried to make it successful again, but they all had trouble. The company almost disappeared completely. But then, a car company called Audi bought Lamborghini. They knew how to make good cars and how to run a big company. They helped Lamborghini start making great cars again. Today, Lamborghini is doing better than ever. They make some of the coolest and fastest cars in the world. In 2019, they sold more cars than ever before. The company that Ferruccio started is now worth $11 billion. So, what can we learn from Ferruccio Lamborghini's story? Well, it shows us that sometimes great things can come from unexpected places. Ferruccio was just a farmer's son who loved machines. He never planned to make some of the world's most famous cars. But when someone told him he couldn't do something, he didn't give up. Instead, he worked hard to prove them wrong. He used what he knew about tractors to make amazing sports cars. Ferruccio's story also shows us that it's okay to follow your passion, even if other people don't understand. His parents wanted him to be a farmer, but he followed his love for mechanics instead. This led him to create 2 successful companies and change the world of cars forever. Lastly, Ferruccio's story reminds us that sometimes the biggest achievements come from trying to solve a problem. Ferruccio didn't set out to make the world's best sports cars. He just wanted to make a car that didn't have the problems he found in his Ferrari. But by doing this, he ended up creating something truly special. That's the incredible story of how Lamborghini got started. From tractors to supercars, from a small Italian farm to the world stage, Ferruccio Lamborghini's journey continues to inspire car lovers and dreamers everywhere. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more amazing stories like this one, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell too, so you never miss out on our latest uploads. And hey, why not share this video with a friend who loves cars or inspiring stories? You never know, you might just inspire the next Ferruccio Lamborghini. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.